Auto Parts Holiday Gift Guide is here. If you're struggling with gift ideas, we have several options for gifts under $20, like a digital tire gauge, screwdriver sets, LED work lights, and more. Our professional parts people will help you pick out the perfect gift for that hard-to-buy-for person. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts or shop O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I will never forget when you came out to visit our employees in Connecticut. They had so much fun. They're still talking about it.
Well, you know what? I won't forget it either, because your employees are so proud of the product you guys put out, and you can see it in their faces. But here's the story I got the biggest kick out of. Your mom and dad, they made a point to make sure I knew that they're still the only ones that can make constant comment.
That is so true.
Want to get inside the headphones of NFL pros? All season long, Verizon is dropping new playlists from your favorite NFL teams with Verizon Run the Playlist, available only on Apple Music. Listen to the songs that get the pros in the zone every game day, from pregame to victory, with tracks handpicked by the athletes and teams. Listen now. Head over to Apple Music and search Verizon Run the Playlist.
Our obsession with perfection and our never-ending thirst to improve. Because you can't seize opportunities for greatness if you don't show up every day determined to be the best. So let's go to the fields, the courts, the tracks, and the skies, where success is determined by your willingness to challenge yourself. Delta, keep climbing.
Behind ball left away, Highsmith. It's picked up by Watt from the 15 to the 10 to the 5. Touchdown! Pittsburgh touchdown! T.J. Watt! Mahomes looking, right side, throws, end zone, touchdown! Travis Kelce! Patrick Mahomes with a strike, and he delivers. 14-yard score, and the Chiefs add to their lead. Shotgun snap, Brock Purdy airing it out, deep for Debo in the end zone, makes the catch on the right side of the end zone for the touchdown. 27 yards to Debo Samuel.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, I see. There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, I see.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs, and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you, as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 018148868.
Imagine a long road trip where the designated DJ isn't forced to flip from station to station, avoiding commercials and trying desperately to find a signal. Where you're not forced to resort to endless rounds of the license plate game to kill time. Stop imagining and start listening to commercial-free music from nearly every genre, coast to coast. Subscribe to SiriusXM and your music stays with you, whether you hit the interstate or take the back roads. Call 844-711-8800 to activate your radio now.
Dex the halls with basketball. 5 games. Giannis to the rim for the slam. The biggest stars.
LeBron on a full speed end-to-end thunder dunk.
All day long.
Luka hits another three.
The ultimate stocking stuffer for NBA fans.
To hear NBA radio, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visiting SiriusXM.com/go.
Grando Deportes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Show. My name is Jonathan of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network. I'm telling you, the sports network in the United States of America, Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports network in the universe. I'm almost choked on the chocolate I was trying to swallow before this show. Sometimes you got some good chocolate. It's easy to put in your mouth, but hard to get out. And that makes sense to you. Never mind time to include it. What a beautiful day, December 18th, 2023. It's only, I think they say it's 7 days until Christmas. Did I get that right? Yeah, you got it right. 7 days of Christmas. It's 7 days for Christmas. Have a happy, holly new year. It's the great time of the year. Have a jolly, holly Christmas. It's the wonderful time of year. I got that chocolate from a CBD store. So maybe that explains some things. Don't put everything in your mouth. All chocolate in your mouth is not good for you. It does taste good to you, if that makes sense to you. Get that some praise. I'm telling you. Someone wanted me to sample some chocolate. Man, I feel good. What did James Brown say? I feel good. I knew that I would. I feel nice. The sugar is spice. So nice. So nice. I got you. That's a good chocolate. You can follow chocolate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 29 podcast applications all across the universe. You can find Big C Sports on Google, Alexa, Spotify. Oh, God, that's good chocolate. Speaker Podcast, Apple Podcast, Good Pods Podcast, TuneIn Podcast, Amazon Podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, Podchaser. Oh, my God, my mouth is so sexy and juicy with chocolate. YouTube, Hopper, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line, Repod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise, Podbay, Verbal Podcast, Podcast Prodigy, Podcast Republic, and one that used to scare me but now it doesn't. It's allfeast.ai. Give that some praise. The robot that turned it over. I want a chocolate robot. I remember I was watching the show at my great grandmama's house when I was a little boy. It was the Lucille Ball show. And Lucille Ball and her friend, they were working on a chocolate assembly line. And the assembly line was going so fast, they didn't have time to keep it up. You know, putting the chocolate balls in a wrapper. So Lucille, she started putting them in her mouth. And then she tried to put them in her pocket. And then my grandmother was just laughing. And the great grandmother, she thought that was so funny. I said, give that some praise. You can do the same thing on this beautiful Christmas coming up. Really do appreciate that. I gotta say, Santa Claus is coming to town. Come on, sing it with me. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows when you've been bad or good. So you better be good for goodness sake. You better not shout. I'm telling you why. He's gonna find out who's naughty or nice. Santa Claus is coming to town. We want the real Santa Claus. Well, I am Santa Claus. If that makes sense to you. And if it doesn't make sense to you, you gotta live with it. You get what you get, and you gotta be happy with it. If that makes sense to you. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast. Man, CBD chocolate is really, that's the works. My goodness. I don't know what was in it because their fine print was too small to read, which I don't recommend, but it tastes good. You can follow Big C Sports. That also tastes good. Streaming OTT on 4 TV platforms, Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Give that some praise. Praise. I want to say, as I come down from my sugar high, if that makes sense to you, my goodness, the chocolate tastes so good. You couldn't just put one in your mouth. I must have ate like 9 things of chocolate. 9 series DNA. Get that some praise. 9 series DNA. If you have eaten too much chocolate, or if you're a veteran and you're going through issues, there's a hotline you can call because they really are experienced helping veterans get help. They will stand on their head to get you some help. 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give us some praise because we all need somebody to lean on. I know I need somebody to lean on it is nice when somebody's leaning back, especially when you got a mouthful of chocolate. Love having a mouthful of chocolate. If you want to know what it tastes like to have a mouthful of chocolate, give me some praise. I'm telling you, there's so many jokes coming up for the holidays, but I didn't make the jokes. Who doesn't want a mouthful of chocolate? If that makes sense to you, I want to tell you thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, let there be chocolate. God said, he said, reparations now, reparation forever. And then he said, let there be light. Chocolate light. I got to go back to that store. Oh, Lord, I know what I want for Christmas. I want to tell you, I really do appreciate so many things. With Big C Sports, not only do I have CBD chocolate, it's all good. It's all good. It's all safe, guys. There's nothing negative about it. It's just really, really sweet, and it makes you want more. They say once you have chocolate, you never go back. No, that's not true. I am going back. Give that some praise. I always produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows. I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter in our lives. And then I'm telling you, the commercials are done based on I do the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. And commercials are done. The stats are provided. I do the storytelling. I even do the play-by-play. I think I told you the play-by-play up to the line of scrimmage. 49ers 4 wide outs. The Cardinals 5-man front. The snap. Purdy rolling to his right. Rolling. He's throwing downfield. The ball is caught. Caught for the touchdown. Debo Samuel, 50 yards. I think I said that before that happened, but now they gotta get Baltimore coming into town on Monday night. What a day for Christmas. Usually the NBA would be the only show in town on Christmas, but the NFL decided there's too much money. They want to compete with the NBA now for Christmas. And what a game they picked. The 49ers at home versus the Baltimore Ravens. I think the 49ers are ready to eat some Ravens. But that game kind of, not that it scares me, but the Ravens, their defense is legit. And I think their defense is better than the 49ers. But I think the 49ers offense is better than the Ravens. The Ravens just beat Jacksonville. Now they got to fly across the country in Dim Deer Hills, California, and play a 49er team that, my opinion, is the best team in football. So I hope the weather holds up because it'd be great to see a great game on Monday Night Football in San Francisco next week. But we'll see what happens. I'll get into some things that we have to talk about with college football today, as well as I'm telling you, I love NFL football. Happening tonight, got a big game. But I always, as I did say, man, that chocolate got me all mixed up. I want some more. I want more Eddie. Anyone ever call you and say, I want some more Eddie? Well, I want some more of that chocolate. Give that some praise. My goodness, I do the uploading of the show, goes out to 29 podcast platforms out of New York City. And I'm in Denver Hills, California. And then number 10, I never missed a show since creating Big C Sports with the crew back in the days at Salem Media. Give that some praise. Now you got people that miss practice. I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about practice. And I've never missed a show, if that makes sense to you. I want to tell you what I love about Big C Sports also. I went into a T-Mobile store today, and they said, how long have you been a customer, Mr. Curry? And I said, well, how do you know my name was Curry? He said, because you already just came and told us last week you're looking for some more cell phones. Good some people, they remember your name. I said, oh, okay, well, that's news to me, because I'd never been in this store. But it was after I had the chocolate, so maybe I had been in this store. I want to tell you, so much is happening in the world of sports. I love giving praise to it. It's a great time of year. People are rushing to beat you up for a parking space. It's such a great time of year. People have, good and bad. Hopefully everybody gets along for the holiday season. And if you're a store clerk, you don't argue with the customer. The customer's always right. Had an incident this weekend, and the customer was trying to check out, and then the clerk was trying to act like the clerk was paying the money for the store. When the customers are paying the money for whatever you have in your store, you would think you would say, I'm so sorry. Let me fix that for you. I'm so sorry. How can I help you? I'm so sorry. My bad. Let me see if I can help you. As opposed to, hey, I'm not, you can't talk to me that way. Hey, I didn't do anything wrong. I don't understand what your problem is. No, some people got to understand the customer's right. When people are trying to spend money in your store, then you should be polite enough to say, how can I help you? I'm sorry, my bad. How can I fix this for you? That's what customer service is about. But sometimes people have forgotten that, and I just want to give some sound judgment thinking. When people come into your stores, be courteous and let the customer feel comfortable about spending their hard-earned money. If that makes sense to you, get that some praise. I want to thank also the California Reparations Task Force. What do I want for Christmas? Oh, what did Mariah Carey say? She said, all I want for Christmas is you, baby. All I want for Christmas. I want reparations for Christmas. I think, unless I'm wrong about it, President Zelensky, he only left with $200 million. He was trying to leave with $110 billion. Well, if any Americans is going to get $200 million for Christmas, give that some praise. Because President Zelensky, he got $200 million. President Biden hit the check for him. He was trying to write $110 billion. I don't understand what's up, if that makes sense to you, but I do want to give praise to who should have got the $200 million, the California Reparations Task Force, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste, and I want to make sure that I do my part with Big C Sports Podcast to make sure we get that money that's set aside for the descendants of child slavery. I want to thank Camila Moore. She's a chair, and she's brilliant. Love giving her praise. I want to thank Dr. Amos C. Brown, the vice chair. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to thank California Senator Stephen Bradford. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. He also sponsored Name, Image, and Likeness that helps college athletes get paid on their name, image, and likeness. He also sponsored the Ebony Alert that helps law enforcement put the same resources into finding black children that they do in finding white children with the Amber Alert. And he's making sure that reparations gets passed. You got to give that some praise. I love giving him praise. Having a meeting coming up with him after the holidays. I want to give praise to Councilmember Monica Montgomery Steppe. She's brilliant. Love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Shell Grills. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Devon Scott Lewis. He's brilliant. Also professor at California Berkeley. I love giving him praise. I love giving praise to Attorney Donald K. Kamaki. He's brilliant. Love giving him praise. Part of the California Reparations Task Force. I also want to give some praise to California Black Chamber of Commerce. The big chief in charge is Attorney George Jones. He's brilliant. Met him at the Black Chamber of Commerce holiday party. Going to be meeting with his staff soon as we push for reparations now. Reparations forever. Love giving that praise. So that's what I love doing with the Big C Sports Podcast. It's not enough just to talk about it. It's enough to be about it. I want to thank This Is CNN, proud sponsors of Big C Sports Podcast. Love giving them praise. I want to thank PNC Private Bank, proud sponsors of Big C Sports. I love giving them praise. I won $6 billion. Yes, I do. If Zelensky could get $100 million, I should at least get $6 billion. I want to give praise to Double O. She's the payout committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. She sent me an article, Executive Order 13985, on further advancing racial equity and support for the underserved communities through the federal government. Give that some praise. That's called the White House. I love giving her praise. I also want to give praise to Senator Marco Rubio of Florida and Senator Rick Scott of Florida. They reintroduced a bill to restore Holocaust survivors' right. You got to give that some praise. Then you can do it now for the descendants of child slavery. Well, I want to thank Georgetown University because they offered up over $1 billion and counting for descendants of child slavery. 272 families that were sold in order to pay off Georgetown's debt. That's right, they were sold. And now they're just getting around to offering reparations. I want to thank Double O, the National Payout Committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. She sent me an article that was by the United Nations. It says that strong leadership and political will are crucial to ensure reparatory justice for people of African descent. That's the United Nations. I love giving that praise. Because we know reparations are coming. As I say, I want to thank T-Mobile, America's largest 5G network. Give them some praise. You can also listen to Big C Sports Podcast on your T-Mobile device as well as other electronic devices all over the world. And I do want to give some praise to President Joe Biden because he did ask Congress to back studying reparations. I mean, he had it in his own words. I know you want to watch the game, but you can watch the game a lot easier when you got the reparations money in your bank account because it's coming for descendants of child slavery. So President Biden back studying reparations as Congress considers a bill, and they need to just write the check because they didn't take this much time to pass the Homestead Act that gave white people reparations when they gave them 276 million acres of land just for being white. Just for coming out of the womb white. and even white Europeans just for coming out of the womb. And for black Americans that all life came from Africa, they said, well, we gonna lift up your voice and sing for you guys. Tired of lifting up your voice and singing. So President Joe Biden, the White House has given his support for studying reparations for black Americans. Isn't that something? Well, it's time to stop giving. It's time to stop giving speeches and studying. Sometimes you gotta take the test. If you pass that test, you'll most likely be reelected. If you flunk that test, you most likely flunk being reelected. And you got the answer in the same hand that you used to sign the crime bill that incarcerated a mass number of black folks. That same hand can be used to guarantee you get reelected, because the black vote, pejoratively, that they vote for, that person become president of the United States, as it happened last time, and you got proof. And Clyburn knows that. You gotta give that some praise, because we are not shucking and jiving on a Big C Sports podcast just for people who want to watch sports. I love what I do so much with this show because it's factual, and everything I say is factual. You can look at whatever I say on Big C Sports podcast, and you can see that President Biden, once he got elected, he talked about studying, having Congress propose a bill for reparations. And in California, they're already seeing between between $1.2 million and $3 million for each descendant of chattel slavery since the 1900s. And you got to give that some praise. That's a similar thing. But hopefully we'll get treated like that white man did that came over here from Ukraine. And they wrote the check! They're making go through hoops, jumping through hoops to figure out if somebody agrees with it. You didn't ask black Americans if President Zelensky should get $100 billion! You didn't ask black Americans for that. But you did ask black Americans to vote for you. You say, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black. I remember you saying that as you were all stomping. Remember that. If you don't sign reparations, you probably not getting reelected. If that makes sense to you. Don't turn your back on the people that help you cross the finish line. I was watching a marathon, and it was a poignant marathon. People want to run the marathon so they can win the race. They want to win the race. But one person, I think it was a 26-miler, one person was having a hard time crossing the finish line. And so about 50 yards short of the finish line, the person was cramping up. And a person ahead of the person who was cramping up turned around and helped the person who was cramping get across the finish line. And I think that's what reparations is like for President Joe Biden. Because we see you cramping up by giving money to everybody but descendants of child of slavery. You're cramping up right now. And you want to cross the finish line again. And so the black American vote, the black American vote helped you cross the finish line last time. The black American vote helped you cross the finish line last time, President Joe Biden, with all due respect. You're cramping up again. You're down in the polls, like 34%. And the black American vote can get you across the finish line again unless you just want to lose the race. The black American vote, they see you cramping up at 34% approval rate, and they can pull you through the finish line if you understand that black Americans, they remember when you signed Executive Order 13985, and when they remember when you went to Congress and said, we need to propose a bill for reparations. Well, it's not that hard. President Abraham Lincoln already proposed that bill. He already proposed it. You don't have to look that far. He was the 16th president. You're the 46th president. It's not that far between 46 and 16. That's just 30 presidents. All you got to do is look at what President Abraham did and let black Americans who see you cramping up, let them help you cross the finish line. The way you do that is say reparations now, reparations forever. And you'll win the race. If you want to win the race, you already know the solution. That's my story. I'm sticking with it, and you know it's true. The House panel heard testimony on legislation that would create a commission to examine the history of slavery as well as discriminatory government policies that affected former slaves and their descendants. People know it needs to be done. You cannot justify with one breath how you can deny signing for reparations for descendants of child slavery when you give a white man that's not even an American over $100 billion and some aerial planes, and he's so brazen he came back without even wearing a suit. Even Santa Claus wore a suit when it's appropriate. He came back asking for another $110 billion. And as far as I know, he's told no. Unless I didn't get the last update, Zelensky went back to Ukraine saying, well, America, they said they're going to pay the black folks next before they pay me anything. They're going to pay the black folks next! Especially if they want to get reelected. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. It's not just my story. It's something that needs to be done. And people know it needs to be done. Doing the right thing, give that some praise if you're doing the right thing. You got to give that praise. Before I get into some sports, I know a lot of people want to watch sports because they like people who are shucking and jiving. I hear people saying, well, the Cowboys are a fraud. They lost to Buffalo 31-10, and they were my team. And now I got to tell you that they were a fraud. And then got these black men sitting around and say, yeah, you right, Django. You right. Django say he's a fraud. And they don't say anything about reparations. Descendants of chattel slavery, which is where they come from. All that came from Africa. But I'm asking my brethren, my black brethren and white brethren too, to just honor President Abraham Lincoln. If you can't honor who he is, then Google him. America's 16th president, Abraham Lincoln. You know, they called him Honest Abe. He wasn't a perfect man. But he was decent enough to say before he got to the pearly gates, well, Lord, I'm trying to atone for my sins. And because black soldiers helped the Union win the Civil War, he wanted to do something that was right. And no president since President Abraham Lincoln has had the decency to do what that man did. And that's honor the Emancipation Proclamation for the men and women that helped you win the Civil War. Isn't that something? How do you act like people don't know about it? They all know about it. And that's the key to your re-election, President Biden. Maybe you don't want to be re-elected. And if there's a Republican president out there, and you're talking about the vote that can put you in office, and it has since President Biden, since President Obama, even President Bush, because some black voters voted for Bush, got in office. Even President Trump, because some black voters voted for him, he got in office. The black voters seem to be the swing vote in the election. And people know that. Even Vice President Kamala Harris, you would think that you would be championing reparations for the descendants of chattel slavery. That's where we all come from. I mean, it just seems the right. If anyone can hold a straight lip, when President Zelensky comes over and says, I want $110 billion. And we hold a straight lip and say nothing when it comes to reparations. Georgetown University, same city, Washington, D.C., they already pledged $1 billion, which is almost $200 billion less than what Zelensky was asking for. But they did, at least they pledged it. You can Google Freedmen's Bank, chartered by the United States Congress March 1865 to provide a place for former slaves to safely store their money. After several successful years in which freedmen deposited nearly $60 million into the bank, it collapsed in 1874 as a result of fraud. There was 50 white trustees, all white people, in charge of black folks' money. A board of 50 white trustees was named to manage the bank's affairs. And they stole the money! As we stand up for the kickoff. Nobody talks about it in Big C Sports. But at first, the Freedmen's Bank was a success. During the Reconstruction period, it opened branches in a number of southern cities with large black populations, including Richmond, Virginia, Charleston, South Carolina, Savannah, Georgia, New Orleans, Louisiana, Vicksburg, Mississippi, and Houston, Texas. And the bank eventually had more than 30 branches over a dozen states and the District of Columbia, where President Biden has that pen. The pen is mightier than the sword. All he has to do is, instead of funding a war or spending $200 million in what they call a drawdown, just sign reparations. Imagine getting all the support of the black vote, whether you're President Trump or President Joe Biden. Both of you see the key to winning the White House. It's called the black vote. You know it. But you gotta have the pressure to sign reparations before the election, instead of saying, well, we're gonna wait until after the election. You already did that, President Biden. Executive Order 13985, 00 sent it to me for the payout committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. You can do it now. it should be a lot easier to write a check for the people who put you in the office than a foreigner that came here to suck money out of the country. That's called a clue. And you're 34% in the polls. You best believe the same group that put you in office last time, they can put you back as long as you honor your word. What word should he honor, Curry? I'm going to tell you, why is Big C Sports able to say this? Because I want to thank NBC News. I want to thank CBS News. I want to thank the Associated Press. They did an article on reparations. You know what they call? They didn't call, how about those Cowboys? They didn't call those guys shucking and jiving. Man, how about those Cowboys? They didn't call those guys shucking and jiving. They call Big C Sports Charlton Curry of Dimdale Hills, California, who discusses reparations on his Big C Sports podcast. Says cash payments are necessary. And money talks! Ask President Zelensky if money talks. They got to do the same thing for black Americans. I'm the only sports show in the universe that was mentioned with President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, California Governor Gavin Newsom, on reparations. You would think that'd be more important to the people in power than giving more money to foreign countries. In fact, the Sudan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, is having their election on December 20th. That's just 2 more days from now. I had interviewed a candidate, Mr. Mwembe, who formerly played for the Denver Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs, and he believes that reparations are due for descendants of child of slavery. We all do, even the men who are afraid to talk about it, black men. For some reason, somebody said the cat got your tongue, and they're afraid to say anything about honoring their ancestry, great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents. They're afraid to say anything that would honor them. Well, President Zelensky has more balls than some of our big, strong, and tall athletes. You would think that President Zelensky, he would not have balls the size of these guys that play NBA basketball and NFL football. But he does, because he came over here and asked for what was ours. That money came out of money that was set aside to pay Friedman. But he came over here and asked for it. And now we have people asking about who shoots a three-point basket. Steph Curry had his three-point basket shot string of three-point baskets snapped against Portland, even though they won the game. He didn't shoot a three for the first time in many, many moons. But I would think Steph Curry would join me in asking about reparations. He's a smart man. He's not, I know he's brilliant. And he's not afraid, because the people that tell our athletes to shut up, they love black Americans. They love them, but they're making that money for them. But I'm asking Adam Silver, and also he's the commissioner of the NBA. I'm asking Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL. I know they have a heart to do the right thing by the people that made them wealthy, which is black men and some white men too. And I know the African Americans, they are willing to go run up and down the courts, run up and down the fields. For what? For money. Well, the ancestry that we come from, they couldn't run up and down the fields and up and down the court for money because they had no rights. Even sports, NBA and NFL football, they were segregated sports. Why were they segregated? Because of all the racism that existed in this country through Jim Crow and slavery. So why do they desegregate? They desegregated because, as Bear Bryant said at Alabama when USC beat them with Sam Bam Cunningham and John McKay was the coach, I think it was 42-29 or something like that, 42-21. And he said, I gotta get me some of them. He was talking about black athletes. And then the SEC in Alabama started integrating, getting black athletes. Now almost all their players are black. They have made more money since integrating and getting black athletes. When they started making black athletes more whole, with the proper nutrition and proper supplements and proper living environments, then they became multi-million-dollar financial institutions. Their sports and athletic departments, they became worth multiple millions of dollars more than when they had segregated sports. You already know it's true. We all know it's true. So let's try to make the black society healthier, the same way it was robbed from 1619 to 1865, and then another 100 years of Jim Crow. And now the white universities, they can't wait to get to these black neighborhoods to get the kids out. They want to recruit black athletes to come to their school so they can make more money, more money, more money. It's about making more money. Well, if you were to help stand behind reparations and petition the White House to pass reparations for descendants of child slavery, the same way President Biden gave money to President Zelensky. He didn't get the what did he want, $110 billion? But he did give him $200 million. What would $200 million do in the quote-unquote black community to give people grants for building houses and grants for a business, starting a business? What would it do for the black community to do that? It would help us raise ourselves up the same way the Homestead Act helped white people raise their ways up, pull themselves by the bootstraps. They didn't have to do that. The government gave them a head start like the GI Bill gave them a head start, like the Marshall Plan gave Europeans a head start after the war. Why are we having such an antipathy for helping black Americans? The same way we help white people. Even to this day, it's easier for white people to get a loan than it is for a black person. Same credit score, same income. We all know that. So I'm asking, it's a thought for Christmas. Because Santa said, Curry, what do you want for Christmas? And I told Santa Claus, I said, I want reparations now, reparations forever. I told Santa I want reparations for Christmas. It's only 7 days away. But you ever have someone cut in front of the line, especially at DMV, when you go to DMV to try to register your vehicles, and someone cuts in front of the line. You've been standing in line all day long, and someone cuts in front of the line, and they get to get help before you get help. How would that make you feel? It should make you feel the same way every intelligent black American and white American should feel, knowing that reparations has been considered by Congress since President Biden was elected, and since then, he hasn't given us any money. But he's given it to the Ukraine. He's even given it to Israel. He's given it to other foreign countries. They're giving them money and resources. They even give China money. A lot of our manufacturing comes from China. Look at the tag on your Christmas shopping. But what about descendants of child slavery? The people that put you in office should be first in line, not last in line. Because if they're not first in line before the next election, you're not going to get reelected. And you already know that. Why would you not want to sign reparations? I don't understand it. Why would you not want to sign reparations for the people that put you in office? You can Google H.R. 40, 117th Congress, Commission to Study and Develop Reparations, Proposals for African Americans. And there's 172 between the House and the Senate. There's 172 endorsers of H.R. 40. Representative Sheila Jackson Lee's bill, and they're white. So don't make it about black versus white. It's about good versus bad and right versus wrong. People know it's due. Reparations, California, AB 3121 is California legislative policy on reparations, commissioned by Gavin Newsom. In Big C Sports, I must say, because God decided it. They asked me my thoughts on it. Jenny Hart called me. Hello, Charlton Curry? I said, this is Charlton, how can I help you? She said, this is Jenny Hart, the Associated Press. I said, how'd you get my number? She said, we have our ways. I said, how can I help you? She said, I heard you speak at a reparations rally, and I wanted to get your thoughts on reparations. I said, if you heard me speak, then you know my thoughts. I want reparations now, reparations forever. And it was so poignant, it was picked up by NBC News, CBS News, Fox News, ABC News, to the Associated Press. One beautiful, intelligent black man. That's credibility. Oh, Big C! I'm saying if the Associated Press, for all you, let me just say it in my most friendly way because it's Christmas, for the people that have criticized me openly through Big C Sports about you talk too much politics, show me where the Associated Press wrote a story on your program, on your sports show. Show me where NBC News wrote an article on your sports show. Show me where CBS News, ABC News, Fox News. Just show me the article that they wrote in your sports show and show me where CNN is sponsoring your show. And then you'll have my attention. Show me where T-Mobile is paying for your show. And then you'll have my attention. See, money talks and BS walks. And I'm just asking, and I want to thank DC Lyris of the Black Sports Network for acknowledging the work that I'm doing. Also, the California Black Chamber of Commerce, they're going to be proponents for reparations. If you not reparations, you not allowed in. No more shucking and jiving. You got to give me some praise for that. Well, that's my story. I'm sticking with it. I want to touch on a little bit of what's going on in NFL football because we got a game Monday night up in the great Pacific Northwest where the Seattle Seahawks, they will host the Philadelphia Eagles. And this game can be called the Big C Burger because it's a tasty burger and it comes with, what's all this exactly means? It comes with 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, and some collard greens or the sesame seed buns. And people say, yeah, but what's all the exact meat? It could be some Seahawk or some Eagle. I can't confirm it or not because I think Eagles are illegal to eat. But when you had enough of that chocolate that I ate today, you don't know what you're eating. Be careful what you put in your mouth. All chocolate may taste good. Yeah, it does taste good. In fact, I want some more. I want some more Eddie when I'm done. But tonight, if you want some more chocolate, follow Big C Sports and give us a praise. Week 15 of the 2023 NFL season. It wraps up tonight. What did the great rock Stewart say? Tonight. It's gonna be all right. We want the real Rod Stewart. He's gonna be performing at Thunder Valley in Denver Hills, California soon. And I may just go perform with him. Does that make sense to you? He's gonna sing a song about reparations. So the NFL wraps up Monday night. The Philadelphia Eagles, they flew into Seattle. And when I first saw the story, I said, why would they fly into Seattle? Couldn't they just get on the aerial plane? Okay, then I understand they did fly on a plane. But when I think it's the chocolate, people. Philadelphia at Seattle. Seattle's favored by 3. Jalen Hurts is supposed to play. The over-under is 45.5. And it's a game where the Eagles need to win this game in order to stay in position for the home field advantage in the playoffs should the 49ers lose to Baltimore, which I don't see happening, but you never know. And the Seattle Seahawks, they got to win to keep their playoffs hopes alive. They've been sliding down the hill like Santa slides down the hills on that sled. But Jalen Hurts has been downgraded, but he's been upgraded also. He got a little itch in his giddy up, maybe a little bug in his giddy up, but he's going to play tonight. And I don't talk about the game is already underway. And then Geno Smith was also questionable due to groin, but he was scheduled to play out as well. So we know that quarterbacks can make a difference in this game. And I just feel that this is a game that Seattle has to win more than Philadelphia because the Eagles have shown that they can go on the road and win. And so have the Seahawks. But the Seahawks started 6-3. They've been hurting. They have a hitch in their giddy up of late. But to me, in my opinion, Seattle still has a lot to play for because if they lose, they're probably going to be sliding out of playoff contention because the Rams are ascending in the NFC West. And you know the 49ers, they're going to win the NFC West. In fact, they already have done it. That's the 22nd time. Give us a praise. The 22nd time they won the NFC West in that glorious franchise history. But what I do know is when you look at the Eagles, they've been hit hard by the 49ers knocked them out in Philadelphia. And then they went to Dallas and got knocked out. And now they got to fly across the country and play a hungry Seattle Seahawks. Now, if this were an Eagle versus a real Seahawk, I think the Eagle would devour the Seahawk, if that makes sense to you. But when you think about the 49ers, how easily they ran through the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Cowboys, how easily they did it, their defense is not the same. In fact, they were lucky to beat Buffalo, but you see how Buffalo dismantled Dallas over the weekend. So Buffalo's a kind of Jekyll and Hyde team. But the Eagles, right now, it's hard to pick them. I think the 49ers are so powerful and likely to win the number 1 seed, even if they slip to Baltimore, which I doubt it. And the Eagles need the number 1 seed because they're not going to go on the road and beat San Francisco in San Francisco. And if Dallas somehow climbs the top and becomes the number 1 seed out of the NFC East, they've shown they can't go to Dallas and win either. So the Eagles' chance to repeat as the NFC champion is to somehow grab home field advantage. And I don't think they're going to. That's my story. I'm going to stick with it. So at the same time, you got to ask yourself, why is this game so important to Seattle? For them to hang close to the Rams, they got to get this win. And in my opinion, I think because Jalen Hurts is not 100%, and the 12th man should show up tonight to make it more difficult on the Eagles. I don't see how they've improved so much that they can go across the country after being knocked out at home by the 49ers and then being knocked out in Dallas to go across the country and win at Seattle. But it's a tough game to call. But for me, I'm going to put, I don't bet on games 800 gambler. But DK Metcalf, when he can get deep in that secondary against the Eagles, he's tough to stop. So they're going to try to attack him. Philadelphia's defense has given up 300 passing yards over the last 3 games. That's the second most in the league. And Metcalf is averaging about 8 targets a game. Getting the ball 10 times against this Eagles secondary, they were out Darius Slay. So they don't have the physicality that they have with them. And he surpassed 60 receiving yards in 4 of his last 7 games. So Geno Smith, get the ball to DK Metcalf. You got to target him 10 times. If you get 7 of those 10 catches, at least 1 may be a touchdown. And the other, out of that, if he gets 7 catches, 1's going to be for a touchdown. And maybe 4 would be to move the sticks to a first down for the good old boys from Seattle. They got to get this game. That's my story. I'm going to stick with it. When you think about the night before the first round of the 2023 NFL Draft, Pete Carroll, he had a thought about how he's going to rebuild this team. And when you think about how great this team is, when they started out 6-3, they've come down a little bit. But I'm telling you, Pete Carroll is at home, and he has a chance to get back on the winning side of the playoff battle with the Rams in the NFC West. And I think they do it tonight. But I'm not saying it's going to be an easy win. If the Eagles can come in and win, more power to them. I just don't see how when they've been giving up 300 yards passing in the last 3 games. And Geno Smith can throw the football. And I said, get DK Metcalf the ball 10 times. He's averaging 7 catches a game. And to me, he's the key to if that team's going to win. And I think that's my story. I'm going to stick with it. So I'm going to go with the Seahawks if that makes sense to you. Touching on some more of what happened in the NFL. Got the 2023 playoff picture. It's starting to come into focus. You ever wake up in the morning, you got your eyes got to get focused, got to get that stuff out of the eyes, whatever that stuff is in the eyes. But the NFL playoffs, they're coming into better focus right now. The AFC entered Week 15 with 11 teams boasting winning records and 6 teams with 7-6 records, and the most for a single conference through Week 14 since 1970. So the playoff standings are so crazy. Be watching really close tonight, the Eagles and the Seahawks. But I'm telling you, I love the NFL. I love NFL football, the way it's looking. The AFC picture right now, in my opinion, the Baltimore Ravens, they've clinched. They're going to be the number 1 seed. I mean, they got to keep winning out, so I don't want to say that just yet. They got to play the Dolphins coming up down the back 9, and they got to play the 49ers. They may not win the number 1 seed, but I think they'll win the AFC North. Right now, they're 11-3. The Dolphins, I still have the Dolphins as a team that can make it to Super Bowl 58 and have a rematch with the 49ers. They are 10-4. The Chiefs are 9-5. Now, the Chiefs, I don't trust them. You can say what you want to say about Patrick Mahomes or the receivers not catching balls. I don't trust the Chiefs' offense. They're 9-5 on the season through 14 games. They've clinched, though. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they're 8-6. We saw how they got beat down last night. So I don't trust them. The Jaguars, they had a chance to score more points last night, but they did not. So the 49ers, the Eagles, the Lions, the Buccaneers of all teams, the Buccaneers are only 7-7. The Lions are 10-4. The Eagles 10-3. Based on what happened tonight, they'll be 11-3 or 10-4. The Cowboys are 10-4. The Vikings 7-7, and the Rams are 7-7, looking for that wild card spot. You got the Saints at 7-7, the Seahawks at 6-7, depending on what happens tonight. So you know it's a tough sled, like Santa Claus on his sled. It's a tough sled when you think about it. But I know no matter what you think about NFL football, there's some great football coming down the back 9. And I am, for one, looking forward to Monday night when the Baltimore Ravens have to play at the 49ers, and then they play home versus the Dolphins. and then they end the season versus the Steelers. Baltimore could have won their last game last night. And ironically, they're not going to win all three. They're not going to beat San Francisco. If they do, it would be a major upset. I got to see the point spread on that coming out by tomorrow. But they're not going to beat the 49ers and them their heels on Monday night. And when they come home and play the Dolphins, they may beat the Dolphins because the Dolphins play better at home at Hard Rock Stadium than they do when they're on the road. I think they'll beat the Steelers, but you never know. Those two teams, they always play a tough game. So Miami entered the week 15 as the number 2 seed in the AFC. Going to remain there. And when you think about, they got to play the Ravens so they can settle this on the field in about another week and a half. And then the Dolphins play the Ravens week 17. We will see what happens. When I look at the Ravens, think about this. The Dolphins have the Cowboys. Well, they'll probably beat the Cowboys because they're at home, and the Cowboys don't like to play well. They don't bring their cowboy hats in those cowboy boots as well when they go on the road. So let's say Miami was going to beat the Cowboys. And then they're at the Ravens. Are they going to be able to match up with the Ravens after they have a tough game with the Cowboys? And then they finish versus the Bills down in Miami. They're going to beat the Bills because they're at home. But this is a team that could lose 2 of their last 3. That's my opinion. How about the Kansas City Chiefs? They lead the AFC West by 2 games over the Broncos after their own win over the Patriots. They're the number 3 seed, 2 games behind the Ravens for the top spot. And then the remaining schedule, they'll beat the Raiders. They play the Bengals, they'll beat the Bengals. And then they're at the Chargers, they'll beat the Chargers. So they're most likely going to win out. Jacksonville, they're still number 4 seed in the AFC, even despite being beat down by the Ravens. And I don't think they're going to win more than a playoffs game if they get in as a they may get knocked off by the Texans. Who never knows? They play at the Buccaneers. Is that a win? I don't know. They play home versus the Panthers. That's a win. And at Tennessee should be a win. How about the Cleveland Browns? The Browns are the number 5 seed in the AFC. They said 2 games out of the AFC North lead. Well, think about this. They're up for 1 game over the final wild card spot. They have at the Texans, not a guaranteed win. Home versus the Jets, they'll win that game. And at the Bengals, you never know. That's an in-state rival, and who never knows? Like Captain McKinley playing Massillon High School, it's always a big brawl. Now, the Bengals, they're currently in the playoff picture after beating the Vikings. And what a catch that pass by Jake Browning, showing that they're not really missing Joe Burrow. And then they hold on a head-to-head tie over the Colts and the Bills for the number 6 seed. Now, they got to go at the Steelers. They may or may not beat the Steelers. The Steelers got to rebound and play better offense. They're got to go at the Chiefs. And then they finish versus the Browns. Maybe the Chiefs will win that one, but they might get the Steelers and the Browns game. You just never know. Indianapolis Colts, the Colts are the number 7 seed in the AFC. They hold a head-to-head tiebreaker over the Texans for the number 8 for the final playoff spot. Not really impressed with the Colts. They play at the Falcons. That's a win. Versus the Raiders, that's a win. And versus the Texans, I don't know if that's going to be a win. The Texans are a good team. We will see. So everybody has their own thoughts about who they want to see in the playoffs. And I can't wait to see NFL football down the back 9 because it's a great sport. And when you get into the playoffs, it's like the new season starts. Doesn't matter what record you are. You win and you keep going, you lose and you go home. And that's one thing that I love about NFL football. But in the NFC playoff picture, the 49ers have clinched the NFC West for the 22nd time. And then the Eagles, they are 10-3. The Niners are 11-3. The Eagles right now are 10-3. They'll be 11-3 or 10-4 after tonight's game in Seattle. The Detroit Lions at 10-4, but they've been having they've been leaking a little bit of oil, if that makes sense to you, if Lion can leak oil. 10-4, but they're looking good in their division. The Buccaneers, who would have thought at 7-7 you'd be atop the NFC South, but that's where Tampa finds themselves with touchdown Baker Mayfield doing his thing. And then the Cowboys are 10-4. They looked really bad against Buffalo over the weekend. They got to get their playoff games at home. If not, they're probably going to lose their first road game. The Minnesota Vikings are 7-7, followed by the Rams at 7-7. The Rams are ascending. The New Orleans Saints, who that say they're going to beat them Saints, they're 7-7. In the big game again tonight, the Seattle Seahawks, they are 6-7. They'll either be 6-8 are 7-7 after their home game with the Philadelphia Eagles tonight. So to me, it all matters in Dimder Hill. The 49ers remain the number one seed in the NFC. After their beatdown of the Cardinals, it was 45-29, but it really wasn't that close. And then they hold a half-game lead over the Eagles. You know they're pulling for the Eagles to lose tonight up in Dimder Hills, Washington, where they play the Seattle Seahawks. That's the only time you see the 49er bang Niner game pulling for the Seahawks to win. And the Niners, they already have a head-to-head win if they have a tie, but they also have a head-to-head tiebreaker. And then the 49ers clinch the NFC West with this win over Arizona. The remaining schedule, they play the Ravens on Monday night. To me, they're probably at least a 7-point win or a 7-point favorite, even though Vegas may come in saying they're 4.5, somewhere around there. They're at the Commanders. They will beat the Commanders, and they finish the season versus the Rams. Now, if they have everything locked up against the Rams, they may not try to win that game as much as they want to rest their players. So in the last 3 games for the 49ers, they may go 2-1. Not because they can't beat the Ravens or the Commanders or the Rams, but you got to get players healthy, and that's what I think they'll be looking at. At the same time, the Eagles tonight, they want to regain control of the NFC East, and because the Cowboys lost, they don't play well when they don't have the big 10-gallon cowboy hats or cowboy boots that they wear down in Texas, and they lost to Buffalo. Now think about this. Seattle tonight, this is a playoff game for Seattle because the Eagles can clinch the playoff spot, and they have to knock off the Seattle Seahawks. If not, Dallas is going to be breathing hard down their backs to get the NFC East title. And then when you think about Philadelphia at Seattle tonight, I think they're going to lose that game. And then they're versus the Giants. I think they'll beat the Giants. And then they have to play the Cardinals in Philadelphia. I think they'll beat the Cardinals. And then they're at the Giants again, and I think they'll beat the Giants. So the easy thing for the Eagles is they play the Giants twice of the next 4 games, including tonight. So their tough game is tonight in Seattle. And that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I know everybody has their own thoughts about the Lions. They're 3 games over the Vikings in the NFC North and number 3 seed in the conference. They try the 49ers and also the Eagles. And I think the Lions are going to be fine. They finish up at the Vikings. Tough game to win on the road. And then at the Cowboys, they're not going to beat Dallas and Dallas. And then the Vikings again. So I think the Detroit's probably going to lose at least 1 more game, maybe 2. The Buccaneers, they're going to win the South. The Buccaneers continue to lead the NFC South after Sunday's win over the Green Bay Packers. They have a head-to-head tiebreaker with the Saints. They finished versus the Jaguars, versus the Saints, and at the Panthers. I'm going to finish off the talk about NFL playoffs with the Dallas Cowboys. They fall to the number 5 seed after they lost to the Bills. It was a beatdown. They can reclaim the NFC East lead if the Eagles lose tonight in Seattle. And they have a better division record, which is the tiebreaker. Dallas clinched their playoff spot thanks to the Falcons and the Packers losing along with the Lions winning on Saturday. For the Cowboys' remaining schedule, at the Dolphins, that's a loss. Versus the Lions, that's a win. At the Commanders, that's a win. So Dallas is looking good down the back 9. And if they're going to get into the playoffs and win, they got to get some wins at home. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Also want to congratulate in college basketball. I'll do that tomorrow. But college basketball, the Purdue Boilermakers, they climbed back to number 1. They knocked off my previous number 1 seed, the Arizona Wildcats. It was 92-84. And so I want to give them some praise. All's fair in love and war. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Man, I love chocolate. I had some of the best chocolate I've ever tasted in the history of the universe. And it even made me a little bit loopy. I want some more chocolate with it. They say once you have chocolate, you never go back. That's not true. I'm going back. I'm going back to get me some chocolate, if that makes sense to you. Well, as I always tell you, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber, you can call Lyft, you can walk it off, you can sleep it off. But don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of a car after they've been drinking, because the life you save may be your own or somebody that you love. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. Well, now you know what time it is. Backed by a popular demand. Well, back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, he said, you float like a butterfly, and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. Every time I listen to Big C Sports, it makes me want to say, reparations now, reparations forever. That's my story that I'm thinking with it. And then I felt like a butterfly and I'm thinking of me. My beautiful mother always says there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. If you know anybody going through that garbage, pick up the phone and call 911 because things change when the police show up. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As I always tell you, back by popular demand, for every Big C Sports Show, I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day. Wait a minute, Curry. What about paying homage to President Abraham Lincoln? Oh, that's right. Let's do what President Abraham Lincoln called us to do. Listen up, President Biden. What did President Abraham Lincoln tell us to do? He says, sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. Come on, you gotta say it like your team just won the game. What did President Abraham Lincoln tell President Joe Biden to do? He says, sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. Come on, say it like your team just won the championship. What did President Abraham Lincoln tell President Joe Biden and the black voters to do? He says, sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day.